Atheist Nomads, episode 432. How do you come out to your family?
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin, and joining me is Lauren.
Hello, the hoo-ha has arrived.
Yeah, so welcome back.
I am working on a t-shirt, by the way.
Yeah.
I would love it if one of our listeners was like a graphic designer and submitted ideas for shirts. Just dropping a hint there.
But yeah, so how's things going?
Better.
Yeah.
It's been a rough couple of weeks going through some medication changes. This new one seems to be, well, it's a lot more promising. Either that or the crocheting that I've been doing really has just been a mindless addiction and I need to stop.
Well, and
because I've been ignoring everything else in my life.
And also pretty cool getting onto
But these unicorns are so fucking cute, you guys. They're so fucking cute. Oh my God.
And pretty awesome to be getting onto a medication now that hasn't gone to generic yet. Something actually new enough.
I actually have something new.
Yeah.
You have to fail everything else. But I have. So
Yep. Fingers
I guess
crossed
I got
here.
that going for me.
Yeah.
It's been rough, but we're back on track.
Yep. I just hit one of the random bumpers just to throw a sound on that.
That should have been an applause.
I don't have that one loaded up.
Oh, yay! There we go. There's an applause.
So, yeah, pretty cool. Hopefully.
So every time you reach over and hit a random button I don't have the studio headphones on so I can't hear them. Okay, hold on.
You can put those on.
I'm putting them on now. And, all right, bumper me.
I think it's time for Dustin off the degree.
All right.
So, for the record, if you send in an email and say you don't want it read on the show, I will not read it on the show. I've actually got it fixed so that I actually see that.
Nobody's ever bothered marking that. Well, that's because it was never markable.
I don't think so, but yeah, it's actually coming through now in the email version of it. And but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be fuel for a Dustin off the degree.
Yeah, it's going to be discussed because that's what we talk about.
Just without any of the specifics.
Absolutely.
So, and also this is a little break on the Africa stuff because I need to do hours of research before I finish up this series.
Yeah.
And have not had time. With Lauren's medication change.
Womp womp.
Life has been rough.
It has been rough. There's been a whole lot of me skipping the podcast, going to bed early. Yeah, it's been rough. So let's talk about somebody else's rough life instead.
All right. So when the question is, how do you come out to your family as an atheist? Or this also would apply to being gay, lesbian, bi, trans, non-binary, queer, gender fluid, poly...
A LARPer. There's no forgiveness for that
one. A
LARPer,
a Linux user, an iPhone user,
a furry,
privacy nut, Google addicted person, like any of the things. It all fits.
Was there an AA version for Google, people who are addicted to Google and Facebook? There is. It's on Facebook.
But the big thing to keep in mind is, like, the number one consideration, the people you're coming out to, how are they going to react?
Right.
Is number one.
Hopefully you know them better than anybody.
Are they going to be supportive, upset, but will come around? Will begrudgingly not hold it against you, but still hold it against you forever?
The passive-aggressive route.
Or be angry with you forever?
Yeah.
Or kick you out and never have any contact with you again.
It happens.
You need to figure out before you get there, what response will you get?
And this is harder for younger people because you don't know how people are going to react. You assume your parents are always going to be supportive, or, oh yeah, sure, they're, fanatics, but if I come out, surely they'll still love me. I think that takes people by surprise a lot when that doesn't work out. So it gets easier as you get older, knowing who to trust, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so for a story that I'm not particularly proud of.
Oh boy.
When I dropped out of the seminary and I wasn't quite too atheist yet, I self-identified at that point in one of the most pretentious graduate student ways of doing it. A post-Christian deist.
Oh, okay. So you weren't really stepping out of any uncomfortable box there.
Just making it more uncomfortable?
Just making it super awkward anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a God, but not the Christian God. And at that point, it was kind of the mindset was kind of more the universalist or Unitarian type thought process, but I wasn't a pacifist. So if it hadn't been for that, I would have probably transferred to the UU seminary.
Those damn hippies.
But they were completely anti-war, and
you weren't.
I wasn't even close. And at this point, I'm still not completely anti-war as much as UU's theology is, or doctrines, or whatever they call their version of a doctrine.
Okay.
Covenants, we think these things? The list of things they think?
Yes. Yes.
So,
creed?
Not a creed. Definitely
not a creed. I'm joking.
So
we discussed that.
So I got back to Grants Pass after I left, and I had picked up in my 6 weeks in Jordan on the archaeological dig a really cool idea of traditional Bedouin culture of if you show up in somebody's house needing help, they are honor bound to give you help for 3 days. And you better be the fuck out after 3 days.
Yeah.
They will feed you, clothe you, fight to the death to protect you for 3 days. You're on your own on the fourth.
Yeah, just enough to get up on your feet, and then out the door you go.
So I was a graduate school dropout. I had no job. I had no prospects. I had nothing. So I hit the ground running, applying for like 200 and some odd jobs, and wandered around couch surfing through friends and family, trying to not spend more than 3 days anywhere and get to as many job interviews around the Northwest as I could. Well, the second time I was back in Grants Pass, my mom sat me down on the front porch in the dark and was like, all right, you quit the seminary. What else did you quit? And we had a very uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
It did not end well. After the next day, like that was the last day I was going to be there. So the next day I got in the car and drove off for a week or week and a half. And then when I got back, we met up with the local family members downtown Grants Pass, and I ended up being left with the car and at a bar with my sister and stepbrother and random other people. And my sister gave me a shot of 151, which took me from almost buzzed to completely drunk.
Okay.
And they were all just joking about, is he going to be puking in the gutter or the bathroom or on the table?
Typical family outing.
Yeah. Yeah. So by the end of it, I was completely shit-faced. There were a couple cops in the group. One of them drove the car my parents had left with me back out to the house. And my dad was furious. And I flipped him the bird when I was heading off to the travel trailer for the night. Because I was staying out there because my sister was staying at the house. And so that next morning I woke up and was like, they know I'm not a believer anymore. And I did that. Got drunk.
You got drunk, sure.
With my alcoholic sister, and then told my dad to fuck off and flipped him the bird.
Was he like yelling at you, or was it just him just angrily staring at you and you walked by, made eye contact, and you're like, you know what? Just
there was some
bird.
Angry yelling.
Okay.
Yeah. And my dad's a mechanic, and my vehicle had a blown up transfer case and was waiting on parts. So I was borrowing one of their cars, and I kept having this thought go through my head of, he's a mechanic. He'll disconnect the distributor cap or the battery terminal or something to make sure we can have a good conversation. Like, I don't want that conversation right now. So I jumped in the car and drove off.
You're starting to get into the weeds with the details here, but what's the point?
The point, when I did come back, he was really disappointed that I thought he might react like that. Because he wasn't going to.
You didn't give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Turns out my parents, super duper awesome. They're relatively conservative Adventists. Okay, liberal Adventists are conservative by any reasonable definition of the term, except for the current definition, which what even is a conservative anymore?
Right.
But they were cool. Not all families are that way.
You were expecting the worst only to have the best.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you still have a great relationship with them.
Uh-huh. So other considerations you need to definitely take into account are, what are the financial impacts of coming out as an atheist?
What do you have on the
else?
line?
So
what's on the line here? Is it money? Is it relationships? Is it...
if you're a pastor...
your kid? I mean, who knows?
Yeah. If you're a pastor, you will lose your job. If you're a pastor with a parish house, you will lose your housing. And then have no career. If you're a seminary student, you will lose all job prospects and still have all of the debt.
Yep.
If you are in college, your parents might cut you off.
Yeah.
If you're in high school, you might have to start supporting yourself way before you're ready. And those considerations are all very well worth taking into account.
Or if you're just an adult and you tell the wrong people, you could lose your job or lose your friends or have a judge throw it back at your face and you lose custody of your kids. Or, I mean, there's just you got to definitely guard it. Nobody should be, putting their nose in your business anyway, but there you go. It happens.
And then this is going to sound almost repetitive, but is it going to be relationship ending? If you are a financially and housing dependent teenager, completely dependent on your parents, and coming out would end the relationship you have with your parents, then you will be homeless and destitute and at severe risk. So don't do that unless you have really good backups. If you are 35 years old with 3 kids and a very devout Christian spouse, and you come out as an atheist, you're probably going to get a divorce, lose the house and the kids.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I lost my job because of it, but there wasn't any friction until it came out in the office between me and a coworker that I was atheist. She started questioning all sorts of stuff after that. I thought it was just because we were all friends. We were all the same age. We were kind of getting along with each other really well. She was curious as to why an atheist would celebrate Thanksgiving. Because it's not about God. She's like, it's about thanking God. I'm like, it's about being thankful. She's like, well, what about Easter? I'm like, it's fun.
It's fun with bunnies and eggs.
I'm like, well, because what brought it up was she believed in ghosts. She thought the hospital we were working at was haunted. And I laughed. I'm like, no, whatever. She's like, you don't believe in ghosts? I'm like, no. She's like, you don't believe in a soul? I'm like, no, actually, I don't. And when a year later, when I get fired and I'm on the phone with all of my coworkers who are stabbing me in the back and throwing me under the bus, telling the judge what a terrible worker I was, the tone of voice she had when she said I wasn't a part of the team, that I never felt like I was, like it never felt like I was there for them, even though I totally was. I started looking back on it, I was like, oh shit, I should have never had that talk with her. I should have never answered her questions. That should have never been discussed at work, because she had a bunch of prejudices against me that she could use against me later. So rather than offering to help out a coworker who was obviously suffering from overload, for example, nope, let them burn, because they're going to burn in the end anyway, kind of mentality. I really do think that she felt that way. That's just a little example. I didn't get fired for it.
Right.
But there's little things like that where you're like, God, that person stopped talking to me. I wonder why. And then you think back to that last conversation and you're like, oh crap, that was the time we talked about God and I laughed in their face or did a chuckle or a snide remark. Little life altering decisions like that can, sometimes you're better for it and sometimes you're not. Yeah.
And like we've had ex-pastors on the podcast, and I think it is all of them got divorces after quitting. I don't think it's almost all. I am almost 100% certain it is all of them.
Well, being a pastor who figures out that you're just not living the life that you want to live, what are the chances that your very devout spouse came to that same conclusion?
Well, it was one of the problems I had as a skeptically minded theology major trying to date in college was nobody would date a theology major who didn't want to be a pastor's wife. And nobody who wanted to be a pastor's wife was going to date somebody who clearly wasn't the right fit for that job.
Who had absolutely no intention of being a pastor.
Did not have the right temperament for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which is why it's so important to have podcasts and support groups and friends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then at least you have some people who do understand what you're going through, and you need to find those supports.
Yeah.
As much as you can. Even if it is a couple of, randos in Idaho talking into a microphone. If that's what makes you feel connected and not giving up a hope, then okay. That's good enough.
Now, it's also important to take into account, if you're coming out, what period of life are you in?
Right.
If you are approaching a transition, be patient and keep your head down and your mouth shut for a couple years.
Of course, this is true depending on what country you live in, too.
We're not even to that one yet. If you're a teenager, do whatever you can to keep your parents supporting you until at least you're done with college, if not 26. And the same would go for if you're in college. Don't do anything that's going to screw up the support that you're getting. You need that. Don't screw that up. Wait till you get through it and get to the other end. If you're in that situation, though, don't be changing majors too many times and try to graduate on time. Don't drag it out longer than you need to.
Oh, well. Some people don't have a choice in that matter. You hit that 2-year wall and you're like, oh shit, what do I want to do with my life?
But if you're young and you're at those points, it's reasonable and expected, and even in devoutly religious circles, it's kind of a given that a lot of kids are going to be leaving. And to a certain extent, it depends on the denomination you're in, but the vast majority in the U.S. right now have an average. Let's just say the average color of hair is a really light gray. And if that's the case, nobody is going to be surprised when you stop showing up and when you leave and you tell your parents that, yeah, you're not still gonna be doing their religion. But wait until, if there's even the slightest chance that they will react badly and cut you off, wait until you've gotten past that.
Or yell at them and flip them the bird. Oh, wait.
The one alternative on that is if your parents are so completely devout that they're anti-education and will not support you through college, then you don't have as much to lose, and that really speeds up the process on finding your alternatives.
Oh, well, finding any way to support yourself at that point is key. There's a lot of girls out there who they're not expected to ever leave the family.
Yeah.
You stay with the family. You turn 18, you get married, and you become a part of the extended family, but you're still part of the family. You don't go to work, you don't go to college, you don't go do anything like that. Those girls, that's scary because you've got nothing. But there's a lot of support groups out there for that, women and children's alliances and all that jazz. That's the stuff to look into for that. Of course, the only experience I have is with a totally open, loving, awesome atheist family. So
yeah,
what do I know? But yeah.
If you're married with young kids and you are a new atheist, that sucks. It just really sucks. Don't
let the anger ruin sour relationships that you could be repairing later on either. When you're a new atheist, it's so easy to just want to burn it to the ground. And you don't want to do that. That's definitely somebody in their 30s talking to themselves in their 20s. Don't do that. You're young and angry and you have the energy and the passion. Don't burn bridges when you don't need to. Yeah. It's one thing if you're being, oppressed. It's another when it's just passing a preacher at the farmer's market. Yeah. If you're married and your kids are about to leave the house, well, you're at a natural transition point in life where it's less disruptive if
it goes sour and there's more room to try to rebuild the relationship if it does go sour.
No, I have no idea. I wouldn't be able to comment on that. I don't know if it's easier or not, but natural transition areas in the life might lend to certain other kinds of transitions. Yeah, I can see that.
The divorce rate for empty nesters is very high. One of the highest rates.
Which is insane because you get this extra bedroom. You just split up the beds at that point. I bet you get along a lot better. I don't know.
A lot of them have been just staying together for the kids.
Yeah.
But the point in life you're at definitely affects the how you do it, the who you need to be concerned about with coming out as an atheist or anything else. You know, if you're 65 and retired and you're telling your kids you're an atheist, they probably are as well or don't care. And you probably shouldn't tell your parents if they're still alive at that point because you don't want to cause them any undue stress.
Right.
There's just lots of different angles to look at it from, and there's no one answer.
I just wanted to push a button. All right.
If you want to contact us, you can use the feedback form. Little tip here.
Just the tip.
You don't have to use your real name.
Oh.
You don't have to put in an email address at all. You can mark whether or not you want it read on the show. And whatever you put there, I will not share with anyone. In fact, in my quest to automate as much as possible, automating the collection of feedback was a step too far that I pulled back from because, like, I don't want more companies than necessary touching that.
Right. Yeah, he's really big into the online privacy everything right now. So
right now, for a few years, quite a while,
you've had a recent resurgence, an intensification, if you will.
And with the podcast in particular, and the nature of the podcast, I think that's even more important. So, put your name if you want. Put a fake name. I don't care. You'll know what you put when we read it on the show if you say that I can. If you don't say to read it on the show, please put in an email address so I can reply. If you want to support the show, you can find out how at atheistnomads.com/donate. And if you want to buy some of our cool merch, you can find out how at atheistnomads.com/store.
Oh, we're waiting on our mugs right now. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
That's
yes,
gonna get so annoying so fast, but I love it.
And I can change them up.
Okay, cool. I
didn't this time, but I can. This one is probably going to stay because, yeah.
It sounds very late night show.
For some good news, we have an update on a story from last year.
Okay.
When the Trump administration, as one of their parting shots, expanded government contractors' ability to ignore civil rights and anti-discrimination laws if they had religious beliefs involved.
Right. I remember that. Yeah. It was a pot shot.
It was a lame duck bullshit move. And the Biden administration has started the moves to get rid of that.
It only took them a year.
They've had a lot of crazy to undo.
Yeah. That one was written up and ready to go, I'm sure, as soon as Biden hit office. It just hasn't gotten there yet.
Serious political people don't write things in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or however many weeks was between the time this rule change came in and Biden took office. It's usually months to craft whatever it is. And they were a little more concerned with, the pandemic and the economy and foreign relations.
Isn't there just a Control Z on some of these policies? Undo.
We could wish, but no.
You have to rewrite it.
You have to rewrite it. You have to have the policy to replace the policy. Sometimes it can be as simple as this change is repealed. But if it's not as simple as just striking some language, like if they had stricken some language, then you need to insert new language, and you need public comment periods and
oh god,
notice periods.
Bureaucracy.
There are a lot of rules in place to make it so that you can't just squeeze something in at the last minute.
Or undo something that was squeezed in at the last minute.
Yeah. So as a result of this, you will... If you work for a federal contractor, you will not be able to fire people for being an atheist, gay, lesbian, bi, transgender, queer, religious minority, or being, mixed race.
Can you just say a protected class?
Protected class, or not even quite protected class. You just won't be able to discriminate against people for who they are again. One of the things that has come out with some of the vaccine mandates is a little bit more look at what is the definition of a federal contractor. It includes virtually every hospital, every college and university, every pharmaceutical company, a lot of construction companies. If you do any supplying to the military, you're a federal contractor.
So everybody's touched by it somehow.
It's like 30% of the U.S. workforce falls into the category of government contractor because their employer has contracts with the government. Microsoft, HP, they're all definite government contractors, and the list is huge. And if you're one of them, you can't discriminate.
That's funny. My dad got fired at the age of 55. Everybody at the age of 55 and over got fired from the facility. So the class action lawsuit, you can't fire us based on age. It's like, actually, we're a federal contractor, so we absolutely have that right. That was crazy, because I'm like, that's not how that's supposed to work. Guess what? The government has ways of covering its own ass.
On age...
That was a long time ago, but...
Age protections are newer, and the government has specific stuff in there for mandatory retirements. That's weird.
Nobody's mandatory retirement at 55. 65, maybe. You can retire people out. But at 55, you're just firing them because they're gray. And they're educated, and they have a lot of experience. And oh my God, you're paying this person a lot of money when you can pay for 3 grad students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this rule, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome change.
Does it go into effect, or are they just working on it?
It is a proposal right now.
Okay. So keep up the good.
It is going through the proper normal regulatory process. So in 4 to 6 months, it will be in effect.
Hooray! Keep up the good work.
Most government contractors have ignored the
fire whoever the hell you want,
including the ones who are actually religious organizations.
Nah, just go work in Idaho.
I.e. hospitals.
You can get fired for anything here.
No, you can't.
That's the joke with right to work state.
Yeah, but the right to work state was one of the strongest civil rights laws. Ted Wilson is the president of the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And he was at a conference for the Euro-Asian division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is the second smallest of the 13 world divisions. They have, in that division, 140,000 church members. 45% of them are in Ukraine. It spans 13 countries across basically the former Soviet Union.
Okay.
And 45% of them are in Ukraine.
Wow. That's a lot.
Well, while there, so he was asked, we see how today in society changing its view on the family. Shouldn't the church change its view of family following society? For example, myself as a pastor, if tomorrow my church would come a person of different sexual orientation, transgender, or same-sex marriage, what should I do? Stop them from coming to church? Or open the doors, or something else? And Ted Wilson's response was, this is a very delicate subject, of course, but we must always go back to the Bible. That's our rule of faith. What does God want? What is the ideal that he has set up? There is only one type of marriage that is accepted before God. Only one type of sexual activity is accepted, and that's within a marriage between a man and a woman, blessed by God. So anything outside of that relationship is not God's plan, and is not accepted by God. And then he went on, well, if somebody was actively engaging in adultery, you wouldn't baptize them. You'd need them to confess the sins and stop doing it and have their heart be changed by the Holy Spirit. Then you baptize them. So you treat somebody in a loving, committed gay marriage the same as an adulterer.
Yep. Well, they're both sins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
From their perspective. Yeah, from his perspective, that absolutely makes sense. From the humanistic, that doesn't make any sense at all. That's very hypocritical.
And if you actually look at what's in the Bible, it also doesn't make any sense.
Oh, my God, right? Don't you just wish you could just educate?
Because if you're with the Bible as your guide, then getting a prostitute pregnant, that works good. Selling your daughter into slavery or forcing your daughter to become a prostitute, that's all great.
Yeah.
Having 700 wives is just fine.
Yeah, there's nothing on there about a single man and a single woman.
Marrying some sisters and then also
there is actually nothing in the Bible that says one man, one woman, which is hilarious.
There is.
Is it like
to be a deacon or elder?
Oh, there we go.
The qualifications for church office.
Oh.
So to be a member in the pews, you don't need to only be the husband of one wife.
To be a member in the pew, you don't need to just have a few. Pew pew. Sorry, where's my pew pew?
In Chicago, the city is working on, is still trying to get as many people as possible vaccinated for COVID-19, as, basically every reasonable public official is doing right now. Even some of the unreasonable ones are trying to get as many people as possible, just not doing it well.
They just are sucking at it so bad.
But Chicago is also... all right, so they have been dealing with the city employee vaccination mandate that resulted in the police union going on strike.
Mm.
They've had, like the rest of the country, more surges. And they are now trying to do what's effectively and realistically a Hail Mary.
Okay.
You can find a section on their website promoting an event. Chicago Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. The description being, quote, no matter where you live or how you worship, prayer is universal.
Ouch.
On November 6th, Chicagoans across all denominations in all of Chicago's 77 neighborhoods will pause for a shared moment of prayer for COVID-safe holidays. This moment will also offer a reminder that everyone needs to be fully vaccinated by November 11 to be able to safely celebrate Thanksgiving safely.
When you said Hail Mary, I didn't think you were literally a Hail Mary.
Literally.
God wants you to get vaccinated. Just do it.
Prayer and Thanksgiving so that you can have a safe Thanksgiving. There's a part of me that thinks it was a quasi-religious marketing person who came up with this whole idea.
It sounds like something that would come out of the interfaith sanctuary.
Like somebody who's spiritual but not religious, but a marketer, and was like, oh, this would be so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at these, the play on words here. Oh, like this would be great. And then we could also try and get some of the conservatives to come along instead of all just siding with those
crazies.
Why aren't the cops getting vaccinated? They're leading cause of police deaths is COVID right now.
I mean, I'm not going to say good riddance, but I'm not going to say that.
So this is what Chicago's doing.
It's like the nurses who won't get vaccinated. Well, good. I don't want a fucking nurse who's not fucking vaccinated. God damn.
All right. So with the cops, the take I have on that is we know there have been issues with white supremacists taking over police departments. We know there have been issues with anti-government crazy militia groups taking over police departments.
Yeah, well, where else are they going to get jobs?
The vaccine and vaccine mandates has just made it clear who's one of them and who's a regular person who just wants to help out with public safety.
Yeah.
The baddies have made themselves more obvious.
This was all a trick. Now we know. Somebody suggested that, actually.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I think what was the max mandates was just a way that the liberals are using to try to out oh my God, it was crazy, but it was just like,
And
So funny.
nobody...
It's like, you're just trying to make us look like assholes. It's like, no, you guys are. We're just calling you out on it.
Right. And liberals don't care who's conservative or not. We just care about who's wanting to spread death or not.
Yeah.
If you're so crazy conservative that you want to spread death everywhere, yeah, you shouldn't be
Typhoid
a sworn
Mary.
officer in charge of public safety.
Yep.
Or a nurse or... But yeah, since they couldn't get the cops vaccinated, they're just going with prayers in Chicago.
It's going to be about as effective. Oh, God, I really had to keep my mouth shut the other day when we were walking around the neighborhood and found out one of my neighbors got COVID. She was so mad at her manager because he came to work sick. He got them. She went home. She's like, no, I don't want to deal with this. Well, guess what? She got it too because she wasn't vaccinated. But it's okay because she got the ivermectin. Oh, my God. I was like, well, that's not how that works. But I'm glad you're on the mend. And then I just had to walk away because I'm like, oh, my God. If you had been vaccinated, you probably wouldn't have caught it.
Uh-huh.
Because if you're a vaccinated person who gets sick, if it's a breakthrough case, you're less likely to transmit to vaccinated people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, I mean, protect yourself. You should want to be selfish here.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny was as we were
And then when she
walking...
mentioned the ivermectin, and I was just like, you're fucking crazy.
Oh,
Bye.
what was even funnier was as we were walking by, I saw a bumper sticker on her car. This was right before we talked to her from, 50 feet
Oh, fuck yeah.
outside. I saw the bumper sticker. It was stop re-electing repeat offenders. And I actually got really close and was trying to see who is this even from? And there was nothing I could recognize as anything except for some P.O. box in Florida.
Yeah.
I was like, this is weird. Like, that's
I don't
really
know.
weird.
I know a lot of Republicans who have broken multiple laws who probably shouldn't be.
But that kind of bumper sticker fits in.
That's a rhetoric.
It's
propaganda. So where's it coming from?
It's one of those bumper stickers that kind of fits in that category of, okay, the statement's reasonable, but it's probably QAnon bullshit. And then when she said ivermectin, I was like, yep, it was QAnon bullshit. All right, so Lauren checked mostly off mic on that, and that's an old thing from the 90s, and no, that would definitely predate Q.
No, I think that's actually a pretty universal thing that most people feel. If you elect a politician who fucks it up, don't just re-elect them.
Yeah.
But we do, because that's just how we are. Americans vote dumb. We deserve everything we get.
Shane Vaughn is the pastor of First Harvest Ministries in Mississippi. He has credited Donald Trump with the COVID relief bill that was completely voted against by Republicans after Trump was out of office, and that was written by not anybody in Trump's administration.
No.
Yeah. And he has been saying since then that God will be overturning the 2020 election result.
That's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
No. But that's not even the craziest thing he has said.
That's just stupid, not crazy.
He said during one of his sermons recently that, quote, every signer of our Declaration of Independence, every one of them, were descendants of the tribes of Israel. Every single descendant that signed our declaration were Israelites. Somebody say it with me. America was a church before she was a nation. And how's your fool going to separate church from the state when we were born as a church? End quote.
Say what? Is he saying all the founders were Jewish?
Yeah.
Okay, let's run with that. Shall we?
Uh-huh.
So what happens when he finds out that if we were to stop the separation of church and state, the church that takes over is a Jewish one? How would this particular person react to that, do you think?
Because, yeah, if you take his words literally...
The next president, Jewish president. Whole cabinet, Jewish. All the senators and everything else, Jewish.
Supreme Court, fully Jewish.
Do you know how many people would get massacred? Like, seriously, people would die because that's how bad this country is right now.
Yeah.
When it comes to anti-Semitism, it is terrible.
People have their limits. A third of the Supreme Court being Jewish, people can live with. 20% of the Senate and House people can live with. A couple members of the cabinet people can live with.
They'll still make lizard jokes, though.
And I use those numbers because at least relatively recently, I think each of those have been true. I am certain, I know for sure, before Trump's appointees to the Supreme Court, it was 6 Catholics and 3 Jews.
Real diverse there.
Yeah. But the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Let's go over it, shall we?
Thomas Jefferson was a very, very loosely Episcopalian deist.
Yep. Not Jewish.
Most of the people who wrote or who signed the Declaration of Independence were Unitarians,
Whoop whoop.
Episcopalians,
who aren't real Christians anyway,
deists, a couple of Catholics. They weren't all Jewish.
No, I don't know what.
And if they were, then America was founded as a synagogue, not a church.
Yeah, right?
And
he must have just misspoke, because that's just stupid.
No, that's not a misspeak. You'd know.
He doubled down on it, though.
Yeah.
He said it multiple times.
And also, when you're talking about the founding of the country, the Declaration of Independence, the signers of the Declaration. Oh, yes. Also, if you want to look at the occupations of the people who signed it, there was a lot of slave owners and smugglers.
Nice.
Not fine, upstanding, modern.
They were revolutionaries, not.
Yeah.
They're not legitimate until they win the war kind of people.
And also, the Declaration of Independence did not found our country or government. It was the Constitution.
To somebody who has not graduated high school or has only a high school education, that all sounds just enough right to be possibly true. Therefore, is 100% absolutely true.
Right. Well, heck,
with a capital T.
The Declaration of Independence talks about God. You have to look at that one because the Constitution absolutely does not. So you have to look at the Declaration. The U.S. was, if there is no God, then U.S. independence is invalid, and we need the Queen to send over a Governor General to make things right.
Okay. Except, have you seen the UK lately, though? I wouldn't know.
Well, and also, the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson used the word God in a specific formulation, creation's God. Now, there might be people that Shane Vaughn listens to who read that as, oh, the Jew God.
Okay.
The God of creation, the Old Testament God. No. That's the deist God. The God of creation would be the deist God, the blind watchmaker who sets everything into motion and then sits back and watches, or doesn't,
depending on
if it's a blind watchmaker or a sighted watchmaker.
She's just taking bets, man.
All right, let's see how let's get the spring all wound up, and let's see how this one goes.
I just imagine.
Oh no, they elected Trump. All right, let's
remember those old football games where it's just a vibrating table with the little pieces that would move around. That's what I imagine God is doing with the world. He just turns it on, sits back, and watches these little players vibrate across the table to see who's going to fall over and who's going to make it. It's like, oh my God. Then
Donald Trump wins, and all right, time to just set it on fire. Let it burn.
Smote.
Oh man. But no, the signers of the Declaration of Independence. Now, okay, there's also a chance he came across some crazy Mormon bullshit.
That was the other thing I was thinking was Mormon?
He's definitely not
he didn't
Mormon.
Mention. No, he didn't. And he
First
didn't
Harvest Ministries in Mississippi.
He didn't use any of the other key words that you would hear in referring to Mormonism. So that wasn't it. But it's freaking hilarious.
But it would be fascinating if we see this melding of crazy, prosperity gospel and Pentecostalism and evangelicalism and Mormonism, all just, and like super conservative Catholicism, all just merged into this disgusting pot of all the greats are descended from lizards.
Yep. And that's why we're also cold-blooded. No, that was a stretch. Ugh, that's funny, though. That was a funny one. That just hurts my brain a little too much.
All right. Well,
people send this guy money.
Yeah.
They could be sending us money. Send us money. Don't send him money.
All right. So earlier this year,
an unjust God right there.
There was a group of people who went to Luna Rotisserie in Charbrough, North Carolina, who were told to put on face masks.
Okay. Sounds delish.
And
safe.
They refused.
Okay.
The description from the owner, Sean Stokes, is we had some folks that came in intentionally to harass us. It was pretty clear that they'd come in with the intent of making a scene. It was during the first mask mandate before the vaccines, and the staff just wasn't having any of it. We have outdoor seating as well, and they were insisting on eating indoors even though the weather was fine outside. It was clear that they were there for the sole purpose of making a point that we were somehow infringing on their freedoms. End quote.
Yeah. And that's been happening all over for, 2 years now.
One of them left a 1-star review on Google.
Oh.
That said, quote, "This place is full of satanic activity. As free-breathing humans, we were discriminated against. The waitstaff refused to serve our laughing, smiling faces. I cannot believe the treatment we received here, as if we were below them. If you like freedom, go elsewhere."
Satanic activity. God, I love that. I love it when they throw little teasers in like that.
Yeah.
The rest of it is completely believable and understandable considering what their goal was. Satanic activity always throws me for a loop because that's just adding satanic panic to it, which is like, oh my God, please, that's so 1980s.
Or modern.
You know, it's all about the free breathers now.
No. Modern QAnon is just new satanic panic.
Yeah. So when somebody mentions satanic anything, I just laugh because it's like, really? And your children play D&D in the basement.
Don't bring up children with them because then they're going to be wondering, wait, you have children in the basement?
Oh, shit.
What are you doing with the children in the basement?
Playing Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, shit. Not real dungeons.
All right, so...
On a side note, I got a My Little Pony Dungeons and Dragons set, and I would be very happy to have my child play with those.
All right, so the restaurant's owner responded to this review by printing a t-shirt.
Of the review?
Of a masked Satan figure. "This place is full of satanic activity," with the full Google review printed below it with the 1 star. Tweeted it. And since then,
oh my God,
people have been begging to be able to buy it.
That's awesome.
And it is for sale now.
That's brilliant. Have you ever heard of Subpar Parks?
No.
It is a person who goes through Google reviews.
National parks, yes.
And finds the 1-star reviews and makes posters, beautiful, majestic posters of these 1-star reviews. That's what this person did. And I hope they make many, many $bucks selling this t-shirt.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. If you're in the market for a shirt and you go with this one instead of one of ours, I will not be offended at all.
That's freaking brilliant.
Send us a picture either way.
Okay. Yeah. I wear an extra large women's. If anybody wants to gift me one.
All right. In India, because of course we're getting lots of great,
terrible,
horrible Hindu nationalists.
No good, very bad Hindus.
Out of, yeah. Najis Muhammad runs a barbershop in Gurugram, India, suburb of New Delhi. Well, not a suburb, it's India. It's another city not too far outside of New Delhi. And he's Muslim and helps lead afternoon prayers at a public park outside of his barbershop every Friday. He's been doing this for years, until this week. He's got nowhere to go because Hindu nationalist groups have been showing up and harassing him, and then put in a request to get the space.
They reserved the park?
They reserved the park and erected tents, and he can't have his prayers there.
That sucks.
The
kind of weird to have Muslims praying in your park, I guess, kind of anyway. But like, why doesn't he just do it in his barbershop or in his house?
It's to open it up for the Friday prayers are the particularly.
Oh, there's probably a lot more people.
Particularly, the big one is the Friday prayers, and people who need to go back to work after them. It's handy to have them in places where people can leave their workplace and come and pray and then go back if they need to. So this group has that's got the tents, the Hindu group. Their event was attended by a bunch of politicians and Hindu priests who are mostly all members of Narendra Modi's BJP Hindu Nationalist Party.
To blowjob people.
Including Kapil Mishra, who is 40 and was accused of instigating religious violence in New Delhi last year.
What does his age have to do with it?
It doesn't.
Okay.
It's in the article.
Okay. Sorry. I thought the next line was going to lead to something.
No. But that violence was the worst they'd seen in a long time, that left 53 mostly Muslim people dead.
Jesus. I mean, that's awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, it's really hard. There's a part of me that says it's really hard to stand up for, in this case, a Muslim praying out in the open in a public space. It's like, why are you standing up for that? But then there's the bullying that happens, and I don't like bullies, so I'm still going to stand up for it, even if I don't think it's right and don't believe in it. Killing people is just takes it a whole nother step. Yeah, it's just messed up. Psychotic.
And if a Christian group was doing Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday lunch Bible studies every week in a park, say here in Boise, and they weren't bothering anybody else, I don't think anybody would care.
No, they do.
They do?
Yeah, we have a group.
Oh, and nobody cares.
And nobody cares.
This isn't any different.
No.
The Friday prayers are people doing quiet chants on rugs.
I still think it's weird.
It is.
I still think it's weird that there's this freaking church group that shows up in our park every week, and I'm just like, really? I'm trying to bring my kid here.
Yeah.
Because I guess on a lower level, I really am just a Karen.
Oh.
I just want the park for my kid. Get out of my kid's space, you preachers.
So back to India. There's several districts in this town that Hindu groups have, not districts. There are several public grounds, I'm assuming they're equivalent to parks, that Hindu groups have reserved. The rest are still available and will probably still have prayers. And they all had permission. Like, this is basically...
Right, they weren't doing it because it's not like they were supposed to reserve it and they didn't.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. They were just...
They had permission, they had the reservation, and an official said, no, this Hindu nationalist group gets your reservation.
They get it instead.
Yeah.
They have tents.
You're losing your reservation. They get it this time.
Yeah, it's a dick move. It's one of the universal rules of humanities. Don't be a dick.
Uh-huh.
They failed.
Now, if you want there to not be
that was
people praying on rugs on Fridays in the park, don't respond by holding a nationalist conference, a nationalist rally with tents in their time slot.
If you don't,
just try to get it to stop.
Just don't go. Just ignore it because nobody cares. Jesus. I always thought those the three rules of the universe is don't be a dick to people, don't be a dick to animals, and don't be a dick to the earth. If you can maintain those three things, you're probably a pretty good person. They failed.
Yeah. All right. Well, for our last story, Big Bird.
Oh, here it is.
Has been vaccinated against COVID-19.
Yep.
Announced on Twitter. This is in his first.
It took him so long.
He's 6.
Oh, that's right.
Big Bird is 6.
That's right. He only qualified this past year.
He just qualified.
This past week.
Yeah. And let me find.
Poor Elmo doesn't, but
Elmo still can't. But
it's so funny. Oh my God.
Rosita, who's apparently 5, has also gotten vaccinated against COVID.
Okay.
This is not Big Bird's first public vaccination.
No.
In 1972 on Sesame Street, Big Bird got vaccinated against measles.
Good for him. It obviously did him well for a 6-year-old. Yeah, I've seen the pictures. It's pretty cute. They do vaccination campaigns on Sesame Street since forever. They always have.
Yeah.
The fact that some people thought that this was some kind of betrayal are taking it way too seriously.
Ted Cruz called it government propaganda.
Yeah, coming from the guy who wanted to defund it completely anyway. They're not going to do you any favors, Mr. Cruz.
And
they're lucky Sesame Street hasn't had piñatas made of his face.
Yeah, lots of people were very happy to see this.
Yeah. It's scary for a little kid to go into a doctor and get another shot.
Uh-huh.
So to see Big Bird get the one that everybody's been talking about, that's huge.
Kylie can't wait to get hers.
Yeah. She's such a trooper.
She just got her flu shot a couple of weeks ago, and she was wondering why I got a shot and when she can get hers. And yeah.
I want to know when I can get mine. Actually, I think I can.
You can.
So I'm going to do that.
But yeah, there are a bunch of conservatives who were outraged by this because they felt like that was infringing on their freedoms to have.
They felt personally attacked.
They felt personally attacked by Big Bird getting vaccinated.
Yeah. And the same thing happened in the 70s. There was outrage then too. Same arguments. Government propaganda, all of that jazz. Happened again in the 90s. I don't remember what it was in the 90s. Early 90s. What was that? Was it mumps? Or was it measles again?
It was measles and whooping cough.
I bet it was whooping cough. Maybe it was whooping cough. Maybe it was measles. But I remember it being a big deal then too.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're not vaccinated, which I'm sure all of our listeners are, get vaccinated. Actually, I'm going to guess there's probably like 2 listeners who haven't gotten COVID shots yet. Please do it.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to convince people.
Yeah.
Other than you don't want to be the lady across the street who was sick for 20 days.
And is finally on the mends and did not look like she was doing well.
No. But at least she got her ivermectin.
Well, wrapped up in a blanket.
Smoking
on her front porch.
Oh my God. The poor lady.
Now it's time for feedback.
Okay. Oh man, I actually made it.
From Danielle via Patreon. Loving the bumper noises.
It sounds so late show. I love it. Thank you, Danielle.
And from Rich Gans via the website. I just heard a piece on NPR about Rachel Held Evans and wondered if you'd ever done a segment on her. Sounded like she would have started down a path that would have led her to where you are now. Also, Propes of Nothing. An interesting film, The White Ribbon, Amazon Prime, maybe Netflix explores interplay of small-town life, the church, and evil. I came away thinking, no wonder the Germans were such bastards back then.
I have no idea.
Rachel Held Evans, I am pretty sure she has come up in a story at some point.
I don't recognize the name.
I read up her bio on Wikipedia, and she definitely seemed to be on the, like, pretty quickly moving from conservative Christian to liberal Christian to probably not going to be Christian much longer before she died.
Who even was she?
She was a
lot of people do that.
Young Christian author.
Oh, okay.
Who wrote books about how to be a good Christian and then kept getting more and more liberal as she went, and ran a progressive Christian conference, and don't know.
As for movies, if we have any time outside of watching cartoons with our child, it's adult cartoons. So we don't do the movies so much anymore.
I'd love to get some more live action.
I'll stick with my Bob's Burgers. It's all the attention span I have.
All right, well, that's it for this week. Until next time, remember, not all those who wander are lost. Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atheist Nomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.